This presentation will discuss the mental health and firearm violence research I have completed during this course, including the disciplines involved and their importance. I have included visual diagrams to help support my thesis statement. With the information provided, I aim to prove that mental health and stability play a massive impacting role upon gun violence leading to death in America. Gun violence is an urgent, complex, and multifaceted problem. A solution requires evidence-based information stemming from multiple disciplines, such as criminal justice and sociology. Criminal justice, as is a discipline, holds a major stake in discussion for multiple reasons. Murder is a capital offense in our justice system. Our prisons are overflowing with inmates held on gun charges. The discipline voices a major opinion in the discussion of gun control. Criminal justice professionals have the responsibility of slowing and eventually stopping illegal firearm trade. Sociology can be defined as the social nature of societies and of human interactions within them. Sociology as a discipline can be used in this research. The information gathered by sociology professionals can lead to better understanding of why mass shootings and, more importantly, murders occur and what drove the offender to commit such crimes. Gun-related deaths in America, as we can see by the charts represented by Gun Violence Archives, firearm safety in America is a huge issue. This year alone, 46,500 incidences involving guns have been reported. Of those incidences, 11,800 have ended in death, leaving nearly 23,000 either injured or in a hospital. Homicide. The Gun Violence Archive breaks down the information collected within the database to more specific statistics. As we can see, the vast number of incidences alone is outrageous, many leading to death and injuries. We notice there have been 291 mass shootings this year alone. Mass shootings can be defined as 4 or more fatalities involved. Suicide. In 2016, firearms were the most common method of death by suicide, accounting for a little more than 51% of suicide deaths. Recognizing the causes of these incidences can enable us to create a solution. Information shows that mental health is a leading cause of gun-related deaths. Suicide continued. Myth versus fact. People who attempt suicide are just looking for attention. This is obviously not true. Usually they're looking for help from a physician or a psychologist. Another myth, talking to someone about whether or not they are suicidal will make their suicide symptoms worse. This is also false. If they're having suicidal thoughts. Mental health. Mental health can be defined as a person's condition with regard to their physiological and emotional well-being. Mental health affects how they think, feel, and act. It plays a major role in decision-making when coming to handling stress. 40 million Americans suffer from mental illness or a specific mental health issue. That's 1 in every 5 adults. There are multiple different types of mental health issues, including anxiety, mood, psychotic, eating, impulse control, and personality disorders, all of which have their own subgroup of more specific mental illnesses. An individual's mental health has a direct effect on how one interacts with another in a social setting. Sociology. A recent research has been conducted by Minnesota Department of Corrections researcher Grant Dewey and Bates College sociology professor Michael Roque. Within the research, Roque and Dewey provided a list of the 4 leading root causes of mass shootings. These include access to firearms, wounded masculinity, media, and mental illness. Sociology continued. The research concluded that at least 59% of the mass shootings that occurred nationally between 1900 and 2017 were committed by individuals either diagnosed with a mental illness or showed symptoms of a mental illness prior to the attack. Here is a chart of the worst mass shootings in American history. Criminal justice. Rarely do criminals purchase their firearms directly from a formal marketplace. Only 10% of incarcerated inmates who carried a gun indicate they purchased it from a licensed dealer. 70% obtain their firearms through drug dealers, gangs, or other illegal channels. This data clarifies that illegal firearm trade is out of control in America. Mental illness, along with the ability to purchase firearms in the streets, drives the high homicide and suicide rates in the United States. A solution would be accepting, diagnosing, coping with, and treating mental illness. Over half of the medically diagnosed with mentally ill go untreated. Also, for every 6 mental health patients, there is only 1 mental health professional. Discussion continued. Where the disciplines have contrasting views lies within the solution. Those in sociology argue that we need to focus on a preventative solution regarding mental illness, whereas those in criminal justice argue that we need to take a step toward reducing the number of illegal firearms used in these crimes. Neither solution will succeed without the other. In order to properly approach the situation with a successful solution, we need both disciplines to work compliantly. Criminal justice and sociology work closely together in today's world within the studies of offenders and criminals. Without the knowledge pursued by sociology professionals, the criminal justice world would be left with many unanswered questions. Within the sociology world, as a country, we need to be more open about mental illness. We as a society need to be discussing mental health in our schools, starting with our young adults. Addressing the issue of hysteria and stereotypical thoughts regarding mental illness will only open doors that allow us to be more accepting. If mental disorders are talked about more, individuals may be more apt to seek help. I believe a national registry of the mentally ill would be somewhat beneficial. If we could create a database containing information regarding a possible gun purchaser's mental health, we could potentially reduce the number of weapons used in violent crimes committed by the mentally ill. Specialized task forces should be created to handle underground supermarkets specializing in the illegal trade of firearms. Personal bias. Taking an interdisciplinary approach to this complex issue challenged my personal bias. Prior to conducting the research, I was simply unaware of the vast number of mental illnesses that existed and exactly how they affected those diagnosed. I was also unaware of the sheer immense number of those with mental illness that go undiagnosed and furthermore untreated. Disciplinary bias. Being a criminal justice student, I was previously aware of the mass number of gun-related deaths occurring in America annually. I was unaware that over half of these deaths are accounted for by suicide. I was able to learn new concepts and theories regarding mental illness, criminals, and how the two coincide. Taking an interdisciplinary approach has surprisingly opened my eyes to the amount of information within the discipline of sociology.